IIeX EU is a great opportunity for us to connect with some of the industry's most advanced research professionals. There's evidence of this in the most recent GRIT report, where if you look at one of the tables which outlines adoption of the most emerging methods in market research by region, you see that Europe is leading or tied in 17 of 21 of those categories. At the eye tracking, they're at 46% adoption. On implicit and neuroscience techniques, they're just under 30% adoption. And so really, the region is advanced in terms of its ability to be part of the early majority and early adopters of these new technologies. This is something that we've seen within our own commercial relationships with companies in the region for some time, but it's nice to see that it's validated through the GRIT report. To answer that question, I think we need to look at the global industry first. If we look at the latest Gold report, we see that the market research industry is about a $45 billion industry and is comprised by about 5,400 suppliers. The top 50 of these suppliers constitute half of that $45 billion, with the 50th one having about $17 million in revenue. The report goes on to detail the next 150 of those suppliers having about an average of $9 million of revenue each, which basically leads us to about 5,200 suppliers, which constitute $20 billion of revenue in the industry. And so what we see is that there's this massive long tail within the industry, and that these clients that constitute this long tail, they tend to have fewer client relationships, but deeper client relationships altogether. But they're constantly looking for ways to differentiate themselves and to advance their methods in order to compete more effectively, especially against some bigger players. And so when we look at Sentient Prime as an implicit research technology, we see a really nice confluence of clients who want to utilize these techniques in order to further their business objectives, and a technology that is cost-effective and massively scalable. When you recognize that these suppliers don't typically have behavioral scientists on staff, nor do they invest heavily in their own advanced methods, you see that an implicit research technology like Sentient Prime offers them a very attractive solution. And so 3 things that you won't need when utilizing Sentient Prime are: 1, a PhD. Ours were put to use in order to kind of design a platform that made consumer psychology accessible to you. 2, you won't need a lab. The internet is your lab, and the platform's available in over 30 different languages. And 3, you won't need any hardware. No goggles, no wires. That all you really need to do is use our software in order to integrate an implicit association test within your next survey. Well, the benefits for European clients are the same as those that we see with any of our clients, which is they're unlocking and they're getting access to information and drivers of human behavior which they weren't accessing before. And so they're able to reveal new insights. Those new insights could be situations where the non-conscious data complements the rational explicit data. And sometimes the non-conscious data says something completely different. In that case, they're now getting insight to a driver of behavior which they didn't have access to before. In the last 12 months, we've done a lot of work in Europe. We've spanning brand positioning, package testing, we've done some ad testing, we've done a lot of sensory testing, both in CLTs as well as in-home use tests. And so the technique continues to grow as the early majority is predominantly comprised of European suppliers. We're excited to launch a new version of Sentient Prime right around IIeX EU. This will allow our users to be able to access some new features within the platform, but it's still going to maintain its highly flexible design that allow you to be able to optimize the study for your research objectives. I think the biggest changes that we've embedded in the platform with this iteration is that we've productized a number of our most valuable tests. For example, a self-identification test is one that we use in a majority of our brand work. And this self-identification test allows you to measure non-conscious self-relevance with whatever stimuli you're testing. Another package test that you'll be able to access easily within the platform is our emotional appeal test. And this is easily the test that we utilize the most in all of our full service research. The emotional appeal test allows you to measure non-conscious engagement with the stimuli, and it's really correlated to stated purchase intent. In addition to these productized tests, users will be able to access new gauges which will tell them the overall study duration as well as the estimated margin of error, so that they can be sure that the test is going to deliver enough statistical precision in order to be able to detect significant effects. Another enhancement we've made to the control panel is that it's mobile friendly. So you can be on your mobile device or a tablet and be able to access the control panel to make any sort of changes that you might need to your studies. So that may include checking on quota, that might be making a design change, or it might be to be able to access the results in real time. Come see us in Amsterdam at IIeX EU and see how we're automating behavioral science.